It is hot in here.
It's super hot in here.
Toronto heat wave, everybody.
It is the worst.
The worst.
All right. Sonic fucking Mania. Sonic Mania. I gotta stop saying fucking. I curse way too much.
Nah, not in this channel.
Anyways, this is Sonic Mania. You've seen it, Sonic Mania Plus. We're playing it as a means to celebrate what we're doing today, which is we're fucking talking about Sonic today. We are talking about Sonic the Hedgehog.
More specifically, Archie Comics Sonic the Hedgehog.
It recently just finished. I say recently, I mean a few months, almost a year ago. It finished its run with Archie. Was bought out to IDW instead, so they're starting a brand new Sonic series with none of the characters from the previous one. All new, all exciting. It's going to be great.
Just hitting that old reset button.
It has Ian Flynn, who worked on the original Sonic the Hedgehog comics with Archie, so you know it's got some nice pedigree to it, and it's trying to be more closely attached to Sega Sonic, because it's the biggest thing with these Archie comics, Sonic stories, is they're kind of in their own world, literally in their own world. So you got the Sega Sonic universe and you got the Archie Sonic universe. And the really cool thing about the level of creativity you have with the Archie Sonic universe, it goes right down into the very lore of the series. Now when I say lore, I don't mean like from the first issue, or the first 4 issues up to the first 20, 25, 30. They're all just very episodic type of adventures. So similar to watching the Saturday morning cartoon. And then it evolves into more, even more of a cosmic landscape. So what you get from like Marvel or DC. I think so.
I'm gonna choose one of the new guys. I'm gonna go with Mighty.
Alright. So, and Mighty, and all these other characters that are here in Sonic Mania, they're all in Archie Sonic comics. And you know, they're really fun, they're a good time, but like, taking apart the lore is one of the hardest parts of this whole process. Remember Deke?
Deke.
They created a lot of cartoons in the 80s and 90s, mostly original stuff, but they pretty much ruled Saturday mornings. There's not a channel that didn't have a cartoon that was worked on by Deke. However, they did work on mostly original stuff, and they also dubbed anime, and of course, they had toy product tie-ins as well. You probably remember a lot of these shows too. You have everything from Teddy Ruxpin to the very first Care Bears that was made before Nelvana got their hands on them. Mask, The Real Ghostbusters, Alf, Bill and Ted. I could go on. I literally could. It is a massive list. Deke was also brought in to create a Sonic show. And they did the same thing that they did with Mario. 2 shows, a weekly syndicated show and a Saturday morning show. Now, also at the time they were working on this cartoon, Archie Comics was in the process of creating a mini-series of Sonic. It was only supposed to last 4 issues and was going to be a really nice tie-in. The syndicated show was a very light-hearted, goofy show. More Looney Tunes, if anything else.
Boy, those guys sure are in a hurry to get fleeced.
The Saturday morning cartoon version of Sonic was different. ABC needed a damn good show, and you had a lot of options for your Saturday morning dollar. Let's not forget that Ninja Turtles was on CBS, you got the NBC block that had Nintendo, and you had the slowly emerging Fox Kids block. You had a variety when it came to cartoons. Now, one thing ABC did, which was pretty smart when you think about it, is they had a TGIF block. You know, Thank God It's Friday, where they would show some of their popular sitcoms, and it was always really fun, and everybody had a great time, and it's like, most kids in the 90s remember TGIF. It was a good time. During the fall lineup, they would actually show previews for the new Saturday morning fall cartoons. And this is really smart, because everybody's watching it. You have the whole family in there, parents, kids, everybody.
You've never played Sonic the Hedgehog? Oh boy, where have you been?
It's a new cartoon, right after the Wild West Cowboys and Moo Mesa.
Yeah, don't you know anything?
Sonic, he can really move. Sonic, he's got an attitude. Sonic, he's the fastest thing alive. He's the fastest thing alive.
straight from the theme song alone, that is enough to hold your attention. You knew right off the bat this was not going to be your ordinary video game related cartoon. There was a difference here. The show itself was very dark. The colors themselves were muted. Outside of Sonic, you could clearly see the blues, but it was a very different kind of story. You had Robotnik, who's normally seen as this big goofy guy, being voiced by Jim Cummings, and such a... oh, it's just so good. Like the way he just like elongates a lot of his words and the very sinister tone they have to him. Robotnik, despite his appearance, which was a large oval egg-shaped man, he was actually really menacing and actually had some weight to him. I don't mean that way. I meant like thematically. He was actually a villain, a real villain.
Who are they?
It's the blue hedgehog, sir. His name is Sonic.
Sonic? Isn't that the name of Sir Charles' nephew?
I believe so, sir.
Alert ship security. Tell them I want that hedgehog alive!
Dr. Robotnik was an overlander that betrayed the rest of the overlanders, I believe, if I recall correctly. And then he came to help the Acorns, or the Acorn people.
The Acorn family.
Thank you. The Duchy of Acorn, or
The Acorn royal family, from what I gather.
the Kingdom of Acorn. Because there was another overlander that was working with him called Nate Morgan, and Nate Morgan was incredibly smart. He was actually the one that found a way to use Chaos Emeralds to derive energy, creating the power rings, or the magic rings you see in every single Sonic game. What? That's crazy! But yeah, that's how that happened. So he's responsible for the rings that are everywhere because they're used as an actual power source, so that's why they're so important. And it becomes like a fifth element kind of thing. So he's super smart. He's the one that teaches like Sonic's Uncle Chuck and his dad Jules how to be scientists, because that's his dad and his uncle are scientists. Which it kind of explains where Sonic gets some of his, I guess, some smarts, because he's kind of smart sometimes in the comic. So anyways, Dr. Robotnik comes, he becomes an assistant to Nate Morgan, and by assistant I mean he slowly steals all of his information and so forth, and works with a warlord, or a magician known as Nagas, Ix's Nagas, I'm sure I mispronounced it. And they kind of have a nice little partnership until Robotnik betrays him and puts him into the Zone of Silence, which is full of all kinds of neat people, like Faust, who is some sort of demigod, who also looks like a giant panda. Yeah, unpacking. It's crazy shit. Anyway, so he decides to betray the Mobians that took him in, and he uses a little piece of technology, which was designed by Sir Charles and his brother Jules, which was supposed to be used to heal wounds on the battlefield because they're still in a war with the Overlanders. And that was known as the Roboticizer. It would turn a person into a robot, they could mend their wounds, and then turn them back to normal. Except Mr. Ivo Kintovor decided to, fuck it, I'm just going to do a little thing here, and Jules lost all of his free will. Sir Charles said, fuck it, I'm done, leaves the royal family, opens up a chili dog stand, takes care of Jules's nephew, because in the process of also finding out what happened with Jules, his mom also got roboticized. So now Sonic has no parents and an old man uncle who believes he is the one responsible for all the shitty things that are happening. Then Robotnik plans a coup, throws the king and his warlord buddy into Zone of Silence, and now he's the only guy that exists, unaware that there's this tiny blue hedgehog who has the ability to run really fast. His uncle builds him a special pair of shoes, lets him run really fast, which is pretty neat. And finds out that he actually utilized the rings in unique ways to make himself stronger, make himself invulnerable, and eventually, in the first miniseries, he learns that if he takes 7 of them with 50 rings, he turns into Super Sonic. The cartoon dealt with a lot of really interesting concepts. So you have this oppressive world government that's owned by Robotnik, and Sonic and his friends, the Freedom Fighters, are essentially a terrorist organization who are designed to bring down this oppressive government and then put in their own government. This is what I got as a child, I think. It was just Sonic having goofy adventures with goofy friends. But it was really dark. It dealt with a lot of things like loss. Like Sonic was always, sad that he could never see his Uncle Chuck. Well, not actually sad. See, the problem with the cartoon, and there are some, is that Sonic was never allowed to really show any emotion. He had to be this like stoic, heroic character that was always kind of the voice of reason, but not, and everybody relied on him, so he could never really be sad or be upset. So he was kind of, as fun as Sonic is, he was very one-dimensional, which is kind of, you want that in a Saturday morning cartoon, but for the type of cartoon they're running here, you really don't want that at all. And to be honest, ABC didn't really like how dark the show was in the first season. So the second season, they wanted to have it kind of rewritten, so it was really, more lighthearted. The colors were a little bit brought up. Some of the character designs, like for example, Rotor, changed a lot, including his voice. And for some odd reason, Sally got a vest. But ABC didn't give two fucks because it wasn't making any ratings whatsoever. Because after the end of the second season, it got shut down, which really sucked because the end of the second season ended on a cliffhanger. You had Snively, who survived, and Nagus, who was a character introduced in Season 2, a very powerful wizard that even Robotnik was afraid of, had escaped from the void, and they're going to be this huge villains, and they might have invented a way to bring Knuckles into the story. So many things could have been done. But the show was canceled because ABC was losing ratings to Fox, who had this weird-ass show with kids in brightly colored costumes fighting in giant robots with guys in rubber suits. Honestly.
Yeah, when you sent me some reading just for this episode to get prepped, I wasn't expecting a fraction as much as you ended up sending me in terms of comic lore.
There's so much to it.
It's deep. It's way deeper than I ever would have expected for Sonic the Hedgehog.
The coolest part about it, and also the weirdest part about it, is Mobius itself. The story of how Mobius came to be.
Oh boy.
And the story of that boils down to a long-lasting, not so much lost, but a long-distant ancestor of the series' main villain, Dr. Robotnik. Now, the Archie Comics, the 4-issue miniseries, pulled a lot of the same characters that they had in the cartoon. The one big advantage of this is the comic continued on, and the comic became kind of its own thing. It was the same concept. It was very episodic. However, they would make references and callbacks to earlier events that happened, kind of in like little editor's notes. And for a lot of the first maybe 25, 30 issues, there was a lot of fourth wall breaking where they would actively interact with the reader. But to be honest, the comic kind of worked the same way a Saturday morning cartoon show worked. It's a lot of isolated events that really add to the whole, and outside of miniseries, which there are a lot of, from Princess Sally having her own to Knuckles having his own miniseries, which eventually became a full series and then became another full series. Not to mention that there are two different Sonic the Hedgehog comics, one here in North America and one in the UK. The UK one is batshit crazy, but it actually follows more of the actual Sega Sonic storyline. But like they have a whole thing where like when he goes Super Sonic, he becomes like a vicious murderer, and the whole reason the Robotnik exists is technically Sonic's fault, and it's really weird, and we'll probably get into that another time, but honestly, it's crazy. Ken Penders, one of the gentlemen that worked on the series, started watching the original cartoon and then started making it more of from an episodic kind of show to more of an adventure story with really deep interpersonal relationships and really big, there was stakes. There were actual stakes, and it was more than what you would get from just the regular 48-page special. Like one of the biggest stories that I can remember when I was younger and I was reading the comics was Sonic, I believe it was in issue number 39, where Sonic actually gets roboticized, and it leads into an event called Mecha Madness, where Knuckles does the same thing, and then you have a roboticized Sonic, or the true Mecha Sonic, versus Mecha Knuckles. And it was really cool, and I actually really loved that comic. It's super great. And to be honest, that actual event spawned other events that would eventually lead to the Death Egg showing up in the universe, and the bringing back of King Acorn, and all kinds of crazy shit. And I would love to sit here and unpack all of that, but there's so much to go into. Oh my god, there's so much to go into. Let's not even talk about how the world began, because there was this gene bomb thing that was dropped by this alien race, because Dr. Robotnik's old fucking ancestor just found one of their emissaries and just started experimenting on them. So they said, fuck this planet, and just started gene bombing the place. No fucking shit. The way this character is, his name is Ivan Kintober, because before he took the name of Robotnik, he was known as Kintober, or Kinober? I'm sure I'm saying it wrong. But anyways, it's just his name in reverse. It's not like it's not like super clever. Actually, it was something that they used, I think the UK Sonic Comics kind of kept this origin story for Sonic and Robotnik, where his name was backwards, Sonic was brown, he was like a lab assistant or something, and what happened was they were experimenting with the Chaos Emeralds, Big Shock, Kintober was dealing with like an old expired egg that was in the fridge, and then he turned into a fucking evil dictator, and Sonic turned blue and gained the ability to run real fast.
Always clean out your fridge.
And it was, it's weird. So they kind of wanted to make something that wasn't as weird, but just as weird. So Ivan Kintober, he was a scientist, and he found a remnant of an alien race known as the Zorda. They sent a emissary to Earth. I can't remember what happened to him. It's in Sonic issue 125, where they meet Isaac, his robot companion that he built, who he built using information he got from the Zorda that he dissected. And what happened was the Zorda were like, nope, we don't like that, so we're just gonna bomb the Earth with a gene bomb. And what the gene bomb does is it killed everybody.
Wait, what?
Yeah, everybody died.
Strange, isn't it?
Meanwhile,
Wait, so you're telling me that... Okay, I read about the gene bomb.
Yeah.
You showed me the part of the gene bomb. I got that. I got that Mobius used to be Earth at one point.
Yes.
What I didn't get... That was Robotnik's ancestor that did that?
Yes.
I
think he froze.
Also shit.
Yeah, shit. I believe he also froze himself. So I have my little documents here that are going to kind of help me walk through certain things I'm saying, because things I'm saying are going to be wrong, and I've been often wrong. So we're going to kind of...
You got that by default.
Neat.
Forgive me, Your Majesty. I just can't...
Nonsense. Tonight, I will announce the closing of the War Ministry, then your appointment as Minister of Science. And your plans for dismantling the military are approved as presented. Get started at once.
Of course, sire. Snively, ready the palace attack force.
Holy shit!
So a couple of byproducts of the gene bombs is the Chaos Emeralds crash landed on Mobius. There's all kinds of unrest and so forth. Essentially like the planet reset. So now instead of just humans evolving, now we have the Mobians evolving. Mobians being the furry, cuddly creatures that are human in appearance. And yeah! And the Zorda are locked in a battle with the Black Arms, which if you've ever played Shadow the Hedgehog, the shitty Shadow the Hedgehog game, the Black Arms were the main antagonists of that, and they're also the genesis of Shadow the Hedgehog, who, like most of the hedgehogs in this story, and there are a lot of hedgehogs, they're components of the Chaos Force, which is the power where all magic and everything comes from in these comics. It's a universal force, it exists everywhere. Sonic is like part of this Chaos Force, which is why he's able to turn into Super Sonic when he gets all the Chaos Emeralds. Knuckles is one as well because he's from the Brotherhood of Guardians, who also have a really cool story because originally the island where they lived on, which eventually became Angel Island to better reflect the video games, they needed to save the island, so Knuckles' ancestors created a means to use 13 Chaos Emeralds, because they're just green emeralds, they don't have specific colors or anything. They would use the emeralds to actually put the island into the sky, which is the origin of the floating islands. And the echidnas lived there, and they enjoyed all kinds of dope technology for years until two brothers who became there were two brothers, and it was Dimitri and another fellow who became probably the coolest villain in the series, Enerjack, which is just a being made of pure Chaos Energy, who's also in the kidnap, and technically Knuckles' uncle, long lost uncle, or however that works. However, hierarchy works when you're like ancestors to things. He became a super dope super villain, and all the Chaos Emerald's energy was siphoned into him because they wanted to use something called the Chaos Siphon to bring the island back onto Earth because they wanted to be kind of back with the rest of the races. And some people didn't like that, so that's what they did. And in the process, they killed everybody, and there was only just Knuckles' bloodline living on the island. There's a whole bunch of other stuff about dingoes and other worlds and so forth, so not everybody's actually dead. I'm not even going to begin to talk about that. That's just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it seems like any time I've ever come across something that involved the lore of the Chaos Emeralds, it all just goes back to Knuckles.
It does.
Or the Echidnas.
And even then, the Master Emerald, that's its own story as well. So the original energy from all of those Chaos Emeralds were used to create the Master Emerald by Knuckles' grandfather and the Ancient Walkers, who are this pantheon of ancient Mobians, or Mobasaurs, as they're called. That is a legit term they used.
Mobasaurs?
Mobasaurs.
Hey guys, welcome to Kevin Reed's Sonic Fan Fiction, where I'm going to read a story that Tim has selected out of the 32.2K stories available online. So I'm just gonna get this out of the way. I'm not fucking doing it.
Come on.
No.
Why not?
Well, first of all, the story you found, like, where did you find this?
Just a random Google image search.
A random Google search?
Yeah.
This is not top level Google, friend. Okay? You had to go like deep web DuckDuckGo levels here. You didn't want people to find where you've been. Who hurt you, Tim?
Sonic 06.
You mean with the weird Sonic making out with a human ending, or?
I never beat that game. It was fucking terrible.
He's waiting for his pal Sonic to come hang out with him. Oh, maybe we'll get a tie. We have to do point.
Could you fucking imagine if I won that? If I somehow won that?
You might still. Depends on how many rings you have. No. I'm the winner.
Oh, if I die, I don't even guess. I don't even get a score. Okay.
So yeah,
I learned something today.
So that's Archie Sonic the Hedgehog Comics. That is us for now. And yeah, stay tuned for more Sonic.
The rabbit hole goes much, much deeper than this, so...
What do you mean the hedgehog burrow? I don't know.
Did the hedgehog burrow give you nightmares and night terrors?
After I was researching this late last night, yeah, I saw some shit I can't unsee, to be honest.
Well, until next time, thanks for watching. Please don't Google image search Sonic and Tails.
But do play the hedgehog game in the notes. Tell us what hedgehog you found. If it's, PG-13, then you love it. I don't want to.
Let us know your hedgehog.
I found my hedgehog. I'm so disturbed right now. Anyways, thanks for watching. Peace out. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.